Hello and welcome to this week's lecture series for the practical for the linear modeling course. This week we are going to focus on two specific topics. The first one being idealization and the second one being discretization. Now we have studied these two topics based on the theory, so we know how to idealize particular elements by making sure they have a certain behavior, etc. So when we talk about idealization, we are actually talking about the type of element. So I can also simply say, when I say idealization, I want to discuss type of elements. And of course, further, we've also discovered and we worked out certain problems where we pick out certain elements and we have a structure that is made out of those elements, and we divide that structure into certain number of elements so that we can solve them using the finite element scheme. And that process was called discretization. So when I discuss discretization, I am generally talking about the number of elements that I want to put into a system. So I can say number of elements. I also need to discretize in such a way that I have location where the constraints and the loads are acting. That means I also need to know what is the location of nodes when I discretize. And finally, it's also very important to know what should be the size of the elements that I need in a certain structure. So combining the process of idealization and discretization forms the post-processing of our structure. So in today's practical, we are only going to focus on, if I give you a certain structure, how will you go about idealizing it so that you choose the right elements to go into your model. Further, where would you place the elements so that you have correct boundary condition and load introduction points, followed by how many elements do we want to put over there, and what should be the size of the elements. And once we have discussed all these different topics, then we will be able to answer one very important question which goes with the process of discretization, is how much is enough. That means we can go about discretizing for a large amount. So we can put a lot of elements into the process. We can put a number of elements in certain locations. But how much exactly is good enough for our model to be working as we require it to be? So in the subsequent lecture series, in the number of videos, we will first talk about different types of elements and how, with some examples of how would you choose the kind of element for a certain model type. Then we will follow it up with discretization. We'll do two examples where we will see where we want to put the nodes, how many elements do we want to put, where do we want to put the elements, what should be the size of the elements, and then finally come to answer the question as to how much is going to be enough.